Hey, good morning. Welcome back from the weekend. It's Monday, closing out week 13. Believe it or not, this is the end of week 13. God, it goes too quick. I don't like it, but here we are, Patriots, Giants. Hopefully you guys had a solid Thanksgiving and weekend. There we go. All right. Put the bong down, bro. I don't smoke, man. Come on. Everyone thinks I do. Everyone thinks I'm always high for some reason. I don't know why.
So you come on here in the morning, you're a couple minutes late, you're talking about food.
That's true. That might be true, yeah. But I'm not talking about snacks. I feel like there's a big difference there. Or like some wild concoction that I came up with at midnight. I do miss that. Anyway, glad to have you guys here. It's Showdown Strategy Show right here on the Stokastic YouTube channel. And if you don't mind, as we walk in the door, tap that thumbs up, atone for your sins this morning, subscribe to the channel, and leave us a comment down below. It's a really interesting slate between two teams, one of whom is 2-10. The other has the same record in reverse. But it does feel, Greg, like the Giants this year, I'm not saying they're a good football team. I know your dad's a diehard Giants fan, so maybe you can tell him I said this. But the Giants don't deserve to be 2-10. Now, they've shot themselves in the foot many times towards the end of games. And like they are responsible for a lot of bad losses. There's no doubt about that. But there are fewer teams that have been in games as often as the Giants have been this season and found a way to lose them. Like it's a lot different than the Titans, who are just out of it at the starting bell, opposed to the Giants, who are 7-5 against the spread this year. Like they have a winning record against the spread, and they're 7-5 to the over as well. So you know they've been pushing teams. They lost in overtime to the Dallas Cowboys. They lost on the final play, giving up 400 points in the fourth quarter to the Denver Broncos. The list goes on, right? Like, oh, how about this? They collapsed to the Bears late. They lost in overtime to Detroit just a week and a half ago or whatever it was. So it feels like they're the type of team that you think they're going to get smoked, but then they always have some type of solid offensive output.
They really don't make all that much sense as a team. Like you said, and also this has been for whatever reason, the Giants think for many years, they find very unique and clever ways to win football games, even dating back to like the Deshaun Jackson punt return against your Eagles many years, what was it, like 13 years ago or something like that? Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, they just find odd ways. And then even games that they should win, like they got blown out by the Saints. Like that's their only,
right?
Like their worst game they played of the entire year was against the Saints of all teams. They just got destroyed by New Orleans. So it's definitely been an odd team that's been hard to predict. But a lot of people might just look at this game on paper and say, well, the Patriots are just going to blow the Giants out. To what you had said, I don't know that you can necessarily say that's going to be the case, though, because the recent games, 7-point loss in overtime to the Lions, a game they should have won in Detroit. Yep. Week before, 7-point loss to the Packers. Before that, a 4-point loss in Chicago to the Bears. And the Bears are now the number 1 seed in the NFC. They have a win over the Eagles this year. They've got a win over the Chargers this year. They've got all kinds of weird wins and losses. This is the most wild card team that there is. I mean, other than the fact they're not actually a wild card team, they're the most wild card team on a week-to-week basis in terms of results.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like they didn't just beat the Eagles and Chargers. They actually they handled the Eagles. And then remember that Chargers game? LA got nothing going all game. They were 6-point road dogs, and that game never actually felt competitive. I know it wasn't a crazy score, but the Giants defense just annihilated them. So it is weird. It is a really weird game. It is a weird matchup. And it is a Patriots team that has won 9 straight games. I mean, they started the season off 1-2, and they've rattled off 9 straight. So I don't know. I look at this, 28 degrees out there at Gillette Stadium. I think it's still Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. And I can't help but think, hey, all right, well, a lot of people probably want to go heavy on the Patriots today. Wouldn't fully blame you for it. But at the same time, like, yeah, it's a 7.5 point spread. Jackson Dart, there's a lot of talk about him running less. I'm not buying that at all. Like, there's no point of having this guy out there if he's not going to use his legs. Maybe they try and get him to run smarter. They've talked about getting him to run out of bounds, to slide earlier, to stop taking like crushing hits, which I agree with. But he still has a 30-yard rushing prop, Greg. And I know this is kind of what you talk about all the time when we discuss captaining players, whether or not they have any rushing upside. Yeah, he's coming back from missing 2 games with a concussion, but if you don't allow Jackson Dart to run and to use that, which is his great skills, like this great asset, then what's the point of even having him out there?
There is a part of this too where I think Jackson Dart and Cam Scatabo kind of fed off each other as being bros for a better, I don't know a better term to use it, but I think there's a point where like they almost thought it was cool to be like, hey, we try to initiate more contact almost in an unnecessary way. Like Jackson Dart, even as a quarterback, he's trying to run guys over in the open field where it's like, you don't need to go out of your way to see contact. And Scatterboot is the same thing. It's like, he's about to score a touchdown. He'll just run into a defensive back on the 1 or 2 yard line just to create a little bit of extra contact. And I do think that that's something that the two of them are probably going to do less of going forward because they both dealt with injuries this year in different ways. Dart was the concussion, and then Scatterboot, it was a little bit of a fluke injury, but the way he was playing, he was probably destined to get hurt at some point, no matter what. But I think both of them are probably going to have to at least some way adjust their play style. And that's probably going to be a focus of the Giants in the final few games of the year is you don't want to take away what makes Jackson Dart really good, but you do want to make sure that he's actually going to be on the field for all of your games next year. Else, what does any of this matter?
Yeah, right. But I'm saying I would still, there are guys who can pick up good rushing yardage without taking a ton of contact. Patrick Mahomes is a great example of that, right? Like Jalen Hurts is actually, even though he's not running as much, he's pretty decent at not taking contact. It's the only thing he's good at right now. There are some quarterbacks out there who are capable of doing it. I think he can. The only guy I'm comfortable with initiating contact is Josh Allen at this point. Like he's perfected it. By the way, did you guys, we're going to get into this right now, but did you guys happen to see the Bills-Steelers game? There was a play there. I shot over to my in-laws for a little bit, and my father-in-law and I were watching the game, and we couldn't stop laughing about Darnell Washington grabbing the ball. It was in the middle of the field, probably like 10 yards deep, or 5 yards deep, gets ahead of steam. And you want to talk about a true business decision, Greg. I hope somebody posted this on Twitter. Tre'Davious White saw him coming and literally just got out of the way. Like he sees Darnell Washington coming his way and steps to the side and like taps him on the back as Darnell Washington keeps going. Nobody wants to tackle this guy. You got a cornerback in Tre'Davious White literally just saying, all right, you got this, brother. I don't know why they don't just feed the ball to Darnell Washington and let him steamroll guys, because these corners and safeties don't want to tackle him.
Yeah, I did not see the play. I'm on Twitter looking for it. I can't find it anywhere though.
Oh man, hold on.
I looked for it. I searched Darnell Washington. I searched for Washington White, which led to search. I should have figured that would not give me the searches I wanted to looking up Washington, White. But I was just looking for somebody who posted, Darnell Washington and Tre'Davious White and the same thing. But yeah, I can't find the clip anywhere.
That sucks. I just searched it now too. That sucks because this is something that you got to see. I'll see if I can find it at some other point. But he wanted nothing to do with it. And I think there's a lot of those out there. But anyway, we got a good slate. It's a good game. I fell asleep last night. I didn't finish the game, the Washington game. Turns out that went to overtime and Washington went for 2. Wow.
Yeah, I also didn't catch the end of the game. I've got family still at my house for the holidays, and we were playing Catan last night. So didn't really get to watch the end of the football game after finishing up the Sunday Night Football show.
What's
with
Catan?
Last night. It's just like a strategy board game, kind of like Risk, if you ever played Risk.
Yeah, back in the day, sure. I think Ben plays Catan, actually.
Yeah, he looks like you. I don't even mean this in a derogatory way. And this doesn't even make sense unless you've played Catan before and talked to Ben, but he looks like he would have played Catan. Everybody who I played Catan with in college all looked like Ben.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Ben was probably good at Catan too. Yeah.
No, I don't think he was good. I don't think he was good at it. I bet he got frustrated by it, but I'm pretty sure he played it at one point. I'll have to ask him later now.
Probably did. All right. Let's dig into this one. We got the Sims run. Time to have some fun. 7.5 point spread. And if you were curious, 46.5 point total. That's a decent total. 28 degrees in New England. Like that's a decent total with Dart coming back. Not a ton of weapons. There is one thing I wanted to throw out to you when we start talking about this. I'm not sure that it's been brought up in the context of this game from anything I've seen yet. The Patriots have injuries to their offensive line. Will Campbell, their starting left tackle, is on the IR. Jared Wilson, their starting left guard, is out. The Giants' one strength that they have defensively is their ability to get pressure. I know Kayvon Thibodeau's out, but you still have Brian Burns. You still have Lawrence. Like, they do have guys that are able to get some pressure, and that is the one strength here. So I'm not saying that this dictates or decides the game, but there is a world, there is a path where like the Giants defense actually is optimal today.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's held the Giants defense back more than anything this year is, I guess because people just don't talk about defenses all that much in general. Abdul Carter has been massively disappointing this year to the point where, because my dad's such a big Giants fan, I watch a lot of the games with him. I honestly cannot remember a single thing he's done of significance. He just doesn't exist. You don't see him disrupt plays or really do anything the entire year. So there was a thought coming into the year like, hey, the Giants could have a really good front seven between Burns, Abdul Carter, and Thibodeau. Thibodeau's had a little bit of a breakout season, but Abdul Carter's just been completely lost or just not relevant in games or impactful in any kind of way. The real reason the Giants are able to generate pressure is just because Burns is a one-man wrecking crew. As long as he's out there, you have to feel at least somewhat good about their ability to put pressure on the quarterback. Their defensive backs have been terrible this year, so teams are able to throw all over the Giants. But yeah, I do think that the overall offensive line of the Patriots being a little bit beat up at the moment, maybe that could be the difference to maybe Abdul Carter has a breakout game. They're probably going to have to rely on him a little bit more with Thibodeau out. But I don't know. The Giants defense has just been so shitty overall this year that it's hard for me to really put too much stock in their ability to slow anybody down.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I wouldn't really be even mentioning this if it wasn't a showdown slate, right? Mm-hmm. But they can get pressure. They will get some sacks. I'm not talking about Broncos style. Like Broncos have 51 sacks. The Browns have 43 sacks this season. That's just crazy. But they're middle of the league. They've got 26 sacks on the year. I think some opportunities will be there. How many times has Drake May been sacked this year?
Ooh, let's see. Drake May this year.
37.
That's a lot.
Drake May takes a lot of sacks. So I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of different ways to look at this slate. Obviously, I'm not saying, all right, let's just captain, let's just go out there and captain the Giants defense. No, of course not. But 37 sacks. Let's see where that ranks in relation to the rest of the league. Who's taking more?
Got to be towards the top.
Got to be towards the top. But who's taking more? I'm trying to think if there's anyone who's taken more.
Oh, okay. There's actually an obvious answer for who's taken more.
Wait, don't tell me. I mean, it's not. No, it's not.
I just said one. I don't know if you had heard it, but.
Who is it?
So there's a few players who have taken more. There's one that's just really obvious. Cam Ward. Cam Ward's been sacked 48 times.
Yeah. Holy shit. Oh, Geno. How could I miss Geno? I would have, had I thought of it, Geno would have been actually my first guess over Cam Ward. But Drake May's third.
Fourth. Justin Herbert is third.
With how many?
38. So just one more.
Okay. I got to update this. All right. So after tonight, Drake May will probably be third again.
Yeah. And then also after Justin Herbert potentially misses, although it seems like Herbert thinks he's going to be able to play after having hand surgery.
He's a dog, man. He's a dog. That dude play. When have we ever seen Justin Herbert injured and not play?
Yeah, good point. Not that
he played through like plantar fascia. I think he did miss a game or two last year. He did. But then he came back and he clearly wasn't 100%. He's played through sprained ankles. He's played through a lot of injuries, man. I'd project him to play.
So, yeah, he played in every single game last year. It was 2 years ago. He missed 4 games. But for the most part, Justin Herbert, that's the only time he's missed games is in 2023. I don't remember what the injury was in 2023.
He's a dog, man. You know what it was? Remember he had plantar fascia in the at training camp and through the preseason. And he clearly wasn't right through his first handful of games. And then he started to move around a lot better. That's what it was. But either way, 37 sacks for Drake May. Now, that isn't to say that under pressure, he's bad or anything. Like, he's actually been he's been okay under pressure. It's just, he's been pretty good under pressure. But there is an element of this game where the Giants could get to him. And that's what it comes down to. I wonder how many fumbles he has this year.
By the way, when Justin Herbert missed time in 2023, it was a broken finger that required surgery, but on his throwing hand. So I think that was just one where he physically was probably not able to throw a football.
Right. And he probably tried. Yes. I don't know how many fumbles Drake May has, but he probably has a decent amount. He has, wow. Only one.
Yeah. And didn't lose it either. That's
amazing.
He has not really turned the ball over much this year. He's thrown 6 interceptions, so, fairly minimal amount. But when you consider how much he runs the football, like the interceptions plus the fumbles, he's been pretty safe with the football this season.
What's up, Clayton? Oh, Clayton had a nice win yesterday, right? Wasn't that you that tweeted me? Nice little $500 win with the Sims. Love it. Nobody's really stood out as the team to beat. I'm not buying the Rams. Greg and I were not necessarily the Rams part, but before the show started, Greg and I were just saying that. We were discussing the quarterback MVP market. Nothing really stands out on a slate or on a year like this. It's kind of weird, but look, Giants D, but also Drake May with these pass catchers. So we'll get to Jackson Dart, who I think is super viable at captain and at flex. I don't think you'd disagree with me there. The pass catchers, and so is obviously Drake May is too. We say all about that, all of everything about like the sacks and the offensive line. I do think it's a viable approach to get a decent amount of Giants D. But Drake May today, look, they have a good coaching staff. They have a very good offensive coordinator. My guess is they find ways to move the football, especially knowing that the Giants defense outside of the pressure they can generate has a lot of weaknesses. So, and also, Greg, Drake may not have elite rushing upside, but the guy can still run, and he absolutely will take off when necessary. That could be an interesting element to his game tonight.
Yeah, and then also they're not afraid to try to, sneak the ball in with him on the 1 or the 2 yard line or anything like that. Drake May does only have 2 rushing touchdowns so far this season. But with that said, he's got a pretty decent amount of rushing attempts. So it's kind of surprising that he only has the 2 rushing touchdowns, because you look at his rushing attempts in recent games, 5, 4, 7, 8, 7, 8, 9. He's rushing the ball a ton this year, which really should lead to more touchdowns. I'm kind of curious to look at what the touchdown prop is for him. That's something that actually kind of because of something that you had said the other day about looking for quarterbacks who are going to run more. I had some pretty good hits on QB rushing touchdowns yesterday, and I'm just looking for quarterbacks who have volume that have really long odds to score touchdowns. So I had like Tyrod Taylor at plus 950 yesterday. I had Brock Purdy at plus 1200 yesterday. He had 5 rushing touchdowns last year and then just had like crazy long odds. So I do think there's a really good edge to just finding some quarterbacks who have not scored a touchdown recently, but have been running the ball with a lot of volume. Tyler Shuck was one who didn't score yesterday. I was really annoyed he converted a 2-point conversion, but not actually scored a touchdown. I had him at 16-1. But Drake May is somebody else who I would profile, depending on what the odds are, as somebody who's probably more live to score a touchdown than people think.
He's plus 260, 250.
Never mind. Those are dog shit odds. But I'm telling you, almost every quarterback yesterday that had comparable rushing attempts without a recent touchdown yesterday was anywhere from like plus 850 to like plus 1600 to score a touchdown.
Yeah, the markets are very odd on quarterbacks, man. Same with rushing yards for quarterbacks. Very, very strange. Jackson Dart at plus 295 as well. That's I actually don't think those odds are that bad. I don't know. I think the market's kind of shading, kind of fading him after coming back from a concussion. But we can talk more about that later. What do you want to do with the Patriots passing game is the big question here, knowing that, Hunter Henry's coming off a big game. Everybody comes off a big game against the Cincinnati Bengals. That's just nature of the beast, man. Unless, of course, Lamar Jackson's throwing it to you. Although Likely Likely had his best game of the season by far. So that team's terrible against tight ends. But when you talk about some of these pass catchers here, it is a really tough team to figure out. If you could go to flex for a second, just so we can see where we're at, because I don't think we're going to get a lot of the pass catchers at the captain. Diggs is wildly hit or miss week over week because Drake May and Josh McDaniel, they don't really play favorites in this offense. And now you have Kayshon Boutte healthy. They don't really have anybody out to the point where, when Boutte was out, okay, fine. You hope that it goes more Diggs, maybe a little Douglas. Kyle Williams was getting worked in. But now you have Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, you have Mac Hollins. Demario Douglas will play like 20, 30% of snaps. It's kind of just one of these games now where you'll have to play the pick your poison type spot. And to make matters even more complicated, last week we got Rhamondre Stevenson back in the rotation, which means that it's no longer just like straight TreVeyon Henderson. Yes, he played 65% of snaps to Rhamondre Stevenson's 31, but before you had TreVeyon Henderson play 84 and 88% of snaps. So do I still think he is the lead guy here? Sure. Against Cincinnati, he saw 22 total looks in that game. Meanwhile, Rhamondre Stevenson only saw 8 total looks, but it's still an additional wrinkle here that has to be talked about.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to be going forward is something like what we saw last week. 2/3 of the touches going to Henderson out of the backfield, 1/3 of the touches going to Stevenson. And yeah, I mean, overall, the playing time is just really hard to figure out for the Patriots skill position players. So the running back situation, that's my best guess, but can't say it with 100% confidence. It wouldn't be the most stunning thing in the world if Stevenson just plays more snaps than Henderson either today. That was something that Vrabel was really pushing for prior to Rhamondre Stevenson getting hurt. And then you look at the snap counts for the wide receivers. Diggs only played 48% of snaps last week. That was the least he played since week 1, which was his first game back from an ACL injury. So that's definitely something that's a little bit concerning to me because you had Boutte back. He played more than Diggs. Hollins played more than Diggs. Hollins actually played in on 86% of snaps. The last 2 weeks, he's played 86 and 85% of snaps. So at least with what the Patriots did last week, Diggs was kind of their third wide receiver in terms of playing time.
Yeah, look at his game log. 57 yards, 32, 23, 101, 146, 28, 69, 14, 38, 46, 105, and 20. He's all over the map, and he's been unreliable. And the thing that's difficult isn't that he's been unreliable because he's not catching the boatload of targets that are getting thrown his way. There are simply games where he's targeted 3 or 4 times. Like he has 1, 2, 3, 4 games this season with 4 or fewer targets, 3 with 3 or fewer targets. It's very weird the way they're operating this offense. And unfortunately, there just is not a top dog. Like, all right, you go, well, last week you saw what Diggs didn't do. I was going to say did, but what he didn't do. Kayshon Boutte must have had himself 2 targets, 2 receptions for 15 yards. What about Mac Hollins? Caught 2 for 30 with no touchdowns on 6 targets. Where is it going to? You're essentially just, I hate to say it, but you're throwing darts in a spot like this. And you want to know what's even tougher about all of this is that while you have these spots where they spread the ball around an insane amount, there's also the fact that it could just be a guy that gets 2 targets on the game. But Drake May's been so good on deep attempts this year that he may end up just having like 2 30-yard touchdown passes to Kayshon Boutte, and those are the only receptions he has. So it's like, well, I faded Boutte, and I was right about the low volume, but it doesn't matter because he's optimal, and now I get smoked.
Bringing up Boutte, looking at the current ownership projections of the Patriots wide receivers, getting back to the initial question, what do I make of the pass catchers here? If I could roster, or if I had to roster just one of the Patriots wide receivers, $6,800 for Booty, 13% owned. He played 80% of snaps last week compared to 48% of snaps for Stephon Diggs. So Diggs is $2,000 more expensive than Booty and is 3x the ownership. To me, that's a pretty easy pivot to make and go towards Booty. Like, I do think there's a higher ceiling for Diggs, but not that justifies him being 3x the ownership Booty and $2,000 more.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very reasonable point. He has 33 targets on the season, and 11 of them have been deep attempts. So that means a third of his targets are 20 plus yards downfield against this Giants defense. I'm okay with that. Plus, Diggs is just liable to have another bad game. Booty's $6,800. I hear you. If you just take a look at snap counts overall from last game, Hollins played 86 as well, right? Mac Hollins played 86% of snaps. Booty played 80% of snaps. Demario Douglas was out there 17% of the time. Kyle Williams played 5 total snaps. They run a lot of 12 personnel. They had 79% of snaps for Henry, 56% for Austin Hooper. Jack Westover was out there 24% of the time. So you're not seeing these formations where like all three of these receivers are going to see massive workloads. And you mentioned Diggs snap count, and I'm thinking, all right, maybe that's just a crazy anomaly. But in the games where Kayshon Boutte played this year, Diggs was averaging under 60% of snaps to begin with.
Yeah.
Not just last week.
Yeah, last week was definitely for Diggs a little bit more on the low side of what we've seen out of him, but it also wasn't something that was a complete aberration to what you said.
Right.
Like, we've seen other guys ahead of him in the depth chart in a way that we wouldn't have expected coming into the year once Diggs had the rust worked off from the torn ACL.
Very interesting. So then are we in agreement here that you're certainly not saying you fade Stephon Diggs because he's not very expensive, but the guys like Kayshon Boutte at their ownership, and I think honestly you could make the argument for Mac Hollins as well. Yeah. Both look pretty good given that we're talking sub 20% at the flex.
Absolutely. I mean, I really just don't understand the gap in price and the gap in ownership projection where just brought up the Boutte numbers, but same, Matt Collins is $6,200 compared to $8,800 for Stephon Diggs. Hollins played 86% of snaps last week. Diggs played 48% of snaps. So same sort of situation. Diggs is twice the ownership of Matt Collins, and he's $2,600 more expensive, but he played 27 less snaps last week.
Pretty shocking. Cue up the 150-yard 2-touchdown game tonight. But look, we can only go off the numbers that we have. And I'm not just talking about the snap counts, right? And the really uneven workload that we see week over week. But you're the one that brought up a really good point. Sometimes if you're not applying the context of ownership and salary, I mean, you're just doing it wrong, right? We talked about it the other week against the Jets, where we say, you know what? We may just go all out and fade Henderson at the captain spot and go with a lot of Justin Fields. And Fields ended up being good. Henderson ended up having 3 touchdowns in that game. And touchdowns are as, say what you want, but touchdowns are as unpredictable and volatile a stat as you can find. Case in point, Jonathan Taylor, I think, has 0 touchdowns over his last 2 games after averaging 3 in his 7 previous games. But the reason I mention that is because TreVeyon Henderson averaged just over 3.3 yards per attempt in that game. He had under 100 yards from scrimmage. So the touchdowns are everything in a spot like this. And maybe Diggs just finds the end zone twice. It's entirely possible. But yeah, these are at least ways that we have to look at the slate, whether you like it or not. So, that's what I would say. And also, Greg, just looking at receiving targets in the red zone this year, because this actually does matter to me. Red zone targets Diggs does lead the receivers, which is not a surprise to me. Hunter Henry has 13, though, leads all of the pass catchers. He has 8 inside the 10, leads everybody by a lot. 5 inside the 5, leads everybody by a lot. And then you've just got guys like Demario Douglas, Mac Hollins. Those guys have a bunch. Bootsy's been the guy they don't target in the red zone, but they'll target him downfield. So when you think about that, if there's anything to extrapolate there, looking at the New York Giants, how they have performed on deep attempts this year, kind of preventing those big plays, they have allowed, 20 plus yard receptions. They've allowed 37. They've only allowed 2 40 plus yard receptions, which is actually really interesting given that the only team to allow fewer 40 plus yard receptions is the Buffalo Bills this year. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I wonder what would be the possible reasons for that. The team just always start in such good field position against the Giants that they're never 40 yards out. Is that part of the reason why? But yeah, I would have thought it was a little bit more than that. But yeah, also some of the wide receiver targets are pretty interesting for the Patriots. Drake May has not targeted a wide receiver in the red zone since week 10. That was one target for Stephon Diggs. Early in the year, we did see a decent amount of red zone targets going to wideouts, but 0 in week 12, 0 in week 11, 1 in week 10, and then you had 3 in week 9, 5 in week 8, 2 in week 7, 1 in week 6. But yeah, just kind of oddly absent the last couple of weeks.
The Chicago Bears says Diggs likes primetime and has played big in showdowns, including this year, albeit against his old team, but in primetime he smashed. Yeah, I mean, look, the problem there is you still have to get the targets, right? So I would love for Diggs to have a big game today. It's just, and he might, right? Like nobody's saying he can't. He absolutely can. It's just he still has to get those targets. There's no denying that. He's still. You can't have a big game unless you're playing a feature role in the offense, and I can't say that that's going to be the case definitively. I have no idea. There've been
it's hard for me to say that, this is a primetime game, therefore the Patriots are going to play Diggs on 80% of snaps or something like that. They've clearly been selective about when they're utilizing him. And part of it is, yes, they are utilizing him more probably in some high leverage situations, but he's generally getting 40 to 60% of targets, and he's coming off his second lowest snap count of the entire year, playing 34 snaps, which was 48% overall last week.
Yeah. So again, I mean, I hope that you guys can take some of this information and, formulate your own opinions and decisions, because we all have to at the end of the day. And I haven't really decided yet what I'm going to do with Diggs. Maybe, Greg, the more I think about it, maybe I just try and get with the field there, and maybe a little overweight to guys like Kayshon Boutte and Hollins if this ownership stays the way it is, because it's more so just an ownership play and a price play right now. It's not that you or I are projecting Boutte or Mac Hollins for more fantasy points.
Yeah, it's hard to project them for more fantasy points just because of the red zone targets. Clearly, Diggs being more of a priority than those two. You went over some of the numbers just a second ago. But yeah, Diggs has 10 targets in the red zone this year. Hollins has 4. Boutte only has 1. But to me, it's more so just the price point and the ownership. Like I said before, where he's $8,800. He's pulling 30% ownership. And you just got guys who are cheaper that are also lesser owned on the Patriots that are playing more. So I also, I want to echo what Lofty said. I don't think that Boutte and Hollins should be projected for more fantasy points than Stephon Diggs. I just think that their playing time relative to his means maybe their projections could be a little bit higher. Diggs could maybe be a little bit lower, but I'd just rather be different from the field. If I had to enter my lineups of right now, and we'll see what ends up changing later on in the day as we get more information, but I'd be probably most inclined to play like 15 to 20% of Diggs and then like 30% each of Hollins and Boutte.
Okay. So you would be okay getting under on Diggs and over on those guys. Yeah, I get it. Showdown's tough, man. You got to make some weird choices. Check this out. I pulled up our top single game in Showdown tool. In my opinion, very valuable tool to understand kind of the lay of the land for a slate like this, for these showdowns. And Diggs, Boutte, and Mac Hollins are all positively leveraged. Interestingly enough, at the captain spot and at the utility spot. Now, only a little bit of positive leverage for Diggs at captain, but Kayshon Boutte is actually decently positively leveraged. They're looking at his optimal captain. The only big difference there is that the top overall, top scorer probability is a lot higher for Diggs than it is for Hollins and for Boutte, which I think is very reasonable. It should be higher, right? Like those guys aren't typically ever rattling off the 100-yard games. But the range, I will end on this and then get to some of these other spots. But by the way, appreciate you, Jake Hales. The range of outcomes for Diggs is what we're talking about here, right? Like his range of outcomes is 20 yards or 140. And that's actually what we've seen this season.
Yeah. And to me, when guys have really wide range of outcomes, if they're lower end, I want to be overweight to the field to them. If they're higher owned, I probably want to be underweight to the field. And that's just where we're at with Diggs right now, is that he is the most popular pass catcher from the Patriots. So we'll see what this looks like over the course of the day as more ownership updates. But as of right now, he looks a little bit over-owned to me. The other guy's looking under-owned.
What do you make of the positive leverage we're seeing here on Singletary and Tyrone Tracy, the two highest leverage plays on the slate in the Giants backfield?
Well, the ownership on them is pretty modest. We've got Tracy here projected for 32% ownership at 7,600. And then let's see, where's the ownership on Singletary? Oh, here he is. Yeah, Singletary is only 15% owned at $4,600. So both of them look like pretty viable options. Particularly Singletary stands out to me on the lower end. And a large reason for this is we were talking about red zone opportunities when it came to the Patriots pass catchers before. Over the last 2 weeks, Tyrone Tracy has 6 red zone opportunities. Singletary has 11.
Yeah.
So Singletary, it's a little bit skewed also because 2 weeks ago they gave him 10 red zone opportunities, which is an insanely high amount. But overall for the year, and I know that the Tracy missed a little bit of time, but still Singletary has 17 red zone attempts this year compared to 9 for Tyrone Tracy. I do think when the Giants get down around the goal line, their preference is to give those opportunities to Singletary as opposed to them going towards Tracy. So I think there's pretty decent touchdown equity in him at just $4,600.
I do too. And here's what's really crazy. How is this over the last 2 games, Greg? 47 total touches for Tyrone Tracy, or opportunities, right? 24 last week, 23 the week before that, which is like bell cow status. Mm-hmm. In the same game, both of those same games, 14 carries for Singletary and 16 carries and a target the week before that. That's an insane amount of volume. This team clearly wants to run the football. And it was it Dable fired after the Bears game, the loss? It was, right? I think Dable got fired after the Bears loss.
Correct.
So now you've had 2 games with an interim head coach, and they are running the ball an insane amount.
Yeah. So it is always interesting to take note of what changes with the team after they fire a coach. Like we saw this yesterday, a lot of people talking about Greg Olsen taking over as the offensive coordinator instead of Chip Kelly for the Raiders. What was that going to mean for Brock Bowers' workload? And you don't really know at first. You can make educated guesses. And for the Giants, this doesn't mean this is what it's going to be forever going forward, but we have seen some changes now with Daboll out as the head coach. And some of them included things like taking more chances downfield. Part of that just because Jameis Winston was the quarterback, and that's something he does. But part of it, I think, was also by design. This is something earlier in the season the Giants were never really doing, was taking very many shots downfield. The one exception being that game against the Cowboys where Russell Wilson threw for like 500 yards. So a couple things that we're seeing the Giants do is when they are throwing the football, they're more willing to take chances downfield, but then also just prioritizing running the ball a little bit more with Tracy and Singletary as well.
Yeah, for sure. And My Lane says, y'all are missing out on the biggest component. It was Winston running the offense. Yeah, I mean, in what way is that the biggest component? I'm not being sarcastic. I'm serious. Yes, Jameis Winston is liable to make mistakes. He's different than Jackson Dart, but I mean, I don't know. He threw for 366 yards against Detroit. He only threw for 200 against the Packers, but that is a really good Packers defense. I I don't know. Like, yeah, I think they'll run a different looking offense with Jackson Dart, who's also, oh, you're saying the offense looked amazing going up and down the field. Yeah, I mean, you have to credit Jackson Dart too, though. I don't think Jackson Dart is a huge liability. This is not like going from Winston to Dart is not going from Winston to Russell Wilson, in my opinion. I still think they want to run the football, essentially, if they can. I don't think the offense will look the same necessarily, my lanes, to your question, but I don't think you run the ball that much, Greg, and then just completely phase that out. That would seem counterintuitive when you stayed competitive against two very good football teams and took one of them to overtime.
It's also worth noting that we got 2 starts out of Winston. One, the more recent one, he looked really good. He won people GPPs last week for DFS. I'm pretty sure he was the milli-making winning quarterback. Right. But you also brought up 2 weeks ago, the game against Winston was terrible in the game against the Packers. Now, it was a tough matchup, but he had 29 pass attempts for 201 yards, didn't throw for any touchdowns. He also turned the football over twice in that game. The leading receiver was Isaiah Hodgins with 5 catches for 57 yards. So you got one good game out of Jameis Winston and one bad game, which is, I mean, that's the epitome of Jameis Winston. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. It's not like Jameis Winston came in, set the world on fire, and now everything that happened is irrelevant while he was there. It's certainly a factor to consider, but I do think we're going to see, in general, just a little bit more workload out of Tracy and Singletary now that we don't have Brian Daboll in the mix.
Sure. And it's a tough matchup on paper, for sure. The Patriots do not give up big run plays. It's a good run defense. They've stifled a lot of opposing running games, but volume is just kind of a necessity in a game like this. And you look on the other side with Trevion Henderson and Rhamondre Stevenson, you look at the difference in price points there. This is what we got to talk about, man, because Henderson's 8K, which really is not that much. Like, that's actually a pretty reasonable price point on Trevion Henderson. How much of him are we getting to?
Yeah, so Henderson is super, super popular in the captain spot. So here, a couple of notes on Trevion Henderson. So Henderson, yeah.
Wow, holy shit.
That price point at 8K, he's showing up in 46% of lineups. Look how popular he is in the captain, though. Henderson is the most popular captain on the entire slate. You've got Henderson is 23% owned in the captain spot, May 21% owned, Dart 15% owned, and everybody else is kind of contrarian. You've got these 3 guys combined to make up nearly 60% of the ownership in the captain spot.
I thought the 46 was captain for a second. I was going to say,
oh, no.
Crazy. Still, though, you're right. That's a lot. Is it 23 or 29? I can't see that on the StreamYard screen.
Yeah. So Henderson, 23% owned, Drake May 20.6, and then Dart 15. So actually the biggest fade coming out of the Sims as of right now is getting underweight to Henderson in the captain spot, 23% ownership, and only showing up in 8% of top lineups. In turn, we're getting overweight to some of the cheaper Giants skill position players. So Wan'Dale Robinson showing up in 14% of lineups in the captain spot. Tyrone Tracy showing up in 13% of lineups in the captain spot, and they're 7 and 5% owned.
Here's something else, though, right? Last week, Rhamondre Stevenson had only 6 carries to Henderson's 18. But who had 3 carries inside the 20 and 2 goal line carries to Henderson's 1 in the 20, 1 carry at the goal line? It was Rhamondre Stevenson. So I still think that they want to use and will use Rhamondre Stevenson at the goal line. I don't know if you saw this last week, and I'm going to pull it up now. But last week I looked and I went, are you kidding me? Because I went into the touchdown odds, and Rhamondre Stevenson was minus money to score a touchdown last week. So this week he's plus 225, plus 210, whatever. And Trevion Henderson is minus 110. So that's flipped. I think Stevenson would be a decent bet here to score a touchdown. I'm telling you, they literally had him at minus money returning last week against Cincinnati. Now he's up to plus 230 because of that split. But 2 of his 6 carries were at the goal line. So I don't know if we want to ignore something like that. To me, it's a very interesting little wrinkle there. When you've got a guy coming in at the price point he's at, he's almost certainly going to see less work than Trevion Henderson. But, when you're getting two of the, and he had 2 targets and he's down to 5K, and that was his first game back. Maybe I'm just way off here. Rhamondre Stevenson to me does feel like one of those guys. And yes, Steven, exactly. The Patriots multiple times brought Terrell Jennings in the goal line when Stevenson was out. Right. So that isn't to say they didn't use Henderson a couple times there. We saw them against the Jets do it on multiple occasions, and he had a receiving touchdown in the red zone. But 5K Rhamondre Stevenson in a backfield that has been all over the map, upside down all season long, to me, I will take somewhat of a stand there. What's his ownership right now? It can't be that high, right?
So Stevenson is 1% owned in the captain spot. In the flex, he's 17% owned at 5K. So sub 20% ownership overall. Flex versus captain spot. We also, like you just said, he got more red zone touches than Trevion Henderson had last week. I'm going to try to get plus money on Henderson and not score a touchdown.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I might even on Kalshi, like some of the prediction markets, you could also build your own parlays. It's, you need somebody to pick up the action, but I might also try to build something and see if anybody picks up like decent odds on Henderson to not score a touchdown and Stevenson to score a touchdown today.
I'm okay. I mean, I like that. Check this out too. In the top single game and showdown tool, Stevenson leverage in the utility spot is over 2%. So I like that. We have Stevenson positively leveraged. So yeah, to me, pretty solid spot. I'm okay with it. What else do you want to dig into here? Oh, and by the way, I'm talking about these tools and the sims that we have up and all of that good stuff. If you guys missed out on the Black Friday sale, which was, I hope many of you guys were able to take advantage of that. We still have, and we will always have the ability to jump in on the sims and get them for free simply by signing up with any of our sportsbook partners. Because the link is down there in the description. If you missed out, you're like, damn it, I was away for Thanksgiving. I didn't get to watch any of the shows. I'm new to the channel. I see all of these wins, 3 milli wins on the season with Stokastic Sims users. Many, many other huge wins, right? 5, 6-figure wins. A lot of incredible low stakes wins as well. And that's where this comes in, because all you're doing is making a $5 or $10 deposit. That's it, right? You follow these 4 simple steps. This is it. Link is down there. You can't miss it, whether you're on your phone, your desktop, your tablet, whatever it may be. Choose one of these. And even if you're not in illegal sports betting states, Onyx is a sweepstakes book. It's in 40 plus states. Better, Sleeper, Underdog, Prize Picks, DraftKings Pick Six. All of these are available to those of you who may not have the traditional means to bet on sports. Click claim offer. If you can't do that, we can't track you. Just deposit $5 or $10, whatever the minimum is when you sign up, and place a bet or a pick'em lineup. Once those settle, all you got to do is take screenshots of your welcome email and your first settled bet. That's it. And email us, not the books. They don't care. At support@stokastic.com with those screenshots and tell us what you want. So every one of these equals a free month. I get the question all the time, Laffy, if I did one, can I do another one? Yeah, of course. So if you already did Caesars, you could jump in on Onyx and Fanatics. You do Onyx and Fanatics, you hit those, you send us your screenshots after clicking claim offer, following all the steps, right? After doing so, you just email us, be like, hey, Ron, because Ron handles all that. He does an awesome job, and he gets back to everyone quick. Ron, can I get a month of NBA and a month of NFL? Here are my screenshots from Onyx and from Fanatics, the welcome email and the first settled bet. Boom, he'll get you in that day. And it is a free month, not a free week, a free month of core sims. All of the tools across that entire sport that we discuss here, that we display, that people use to win tournaments, all of that right there. If you haven't done so, we've got you. Get in the door, simplest, easiest way possible. So now you know how to do it.
One other thing to take note of too, even if you took advantage of the gravy offer from last week, let's say you signed up like last Wednesday or something like that, last Thursday, and the deal expires on Wednesday or Thursday, what you can do to re-up is take advantage of the link join once your deal expires, and then you would have had the 50% off for the week, and you get a free month once that expires. So if you guys are enjoying the tools and you got in on the discount last week, that's something you should be considering to get another month for free on top of it.
Good call. Yeah. The Chicago Bears 85, and it works. I currently have a month of NFL and NBA after signing up for Onyx and Sleeper, and I'm in Florida. It was easy, and I won both bets. That's the other thing. You could just win your bets, and then you're really free rolling. But yeah, bro, I wouldn't lie to you. I would never tell you to do something if what I'm telling you you're going to get out of it is not authentic ever. You know, we've been doing this a long time, and we want you guys to have these tools. We want you to win, and we want you to stick around and become part of the community, man. So. Hell yeah. All right. I love this thought from SC. What's up, brother? Both Patriots running backs is an interesting build. Yeah, I love that. I really have zero problem with that at all today.
I'll check. I'll see what some of the top lineups we have here that have both of them. So lineup contains Stevenson, and lineup contains Henderson. See how many of them we have.
Giants run defense, by the way, has been putrid. 5.9 yards per carry. They've allowed more rushing yards and more yards per game than any team. They've allowed 17 rushing touchdowns, which is second worst to only the Bills. They've allowed 15 rushing attempts of 20-plus yards. That is dead last in the league. 6 rushing attempts of 40-plus yards. That is dead last in the league. I mean, this team has been really bad at stopping the run. And even if you're someone that has no respect for PFF grades, and you know, who cares? They are what they are. They are still dead last in run defense grade on PFF. So across the board, the Giants' run defense has been putrid. If you're missing your starting left tackle and left guard, could that hurt your run game? Sure. But would you maybe want to lean heavy on the run instead of having a guy who's been sacked 37 times on the season get pressured an ungodly amount? With the one strength that the Giants have? That is an interesting angle, SC. I love that you brought that up.
So I filtered here on screen by Henderson and Stevenson. 14 of our top 150 lineups have both of them. So nearly 10% of the top 150 lineups in this sim that I ran did have both of the Patriots running backs. It's a viable build for sure, and probably one that's not going to be utilized by the field all that often. Certainly hand builders aren't going to want to do it.
For sure. Also, common pennies, I hope if you got those 400 in sports bets, and assuming you can do this on other books, do it. If you do it and use the link join, you're still going to get those bonus bets in Missouri for other books that may have gone live, and you're going to get the free month. So I always recommend it's not just about the free month, it's about getting the bonus bets as well. Some of those deposit bonuses, if you're in new states, they're throwing them at you, man. They're absolutely throwing you good stuff. So double dip, triple dip there. What else do you want to get into as far as cheap options go? That's the one spot we haven't really touched on today, because I think we're both in agreement that May and Dart look good. Both have rushing upside. Both are captain viable. We broke down both backfields. We talked extensively about the pass catchers for New England. Again, I think Hunter Henry is always viable. He always has 2 touchdown upside. The only spot we haven't really touched on yet outside of defenses, but we did talk about the Giants. I think obviously both defenses are fine. Kickers in this game are always going to be okay, and we're getting a decent amount of them. We haven't talked about the Giants pass catchers, really.
Yeah, to me, the Giants pass catchers, it's pretty simple in terms of Wan'Dale Robinson is a priority. He's been sneaky good this year. Like Wan'Dale Robinson, I don't know exactly where he stands now because other guys have played more games than him, but he's amongst the league leaders in receiving yards this year. And he's done it with Russell Wilson at quarterback, Jackson Dart, Jameis Winston. No matter who's been a QB for the Giants, Wan'Dale Robinson has generally delivered. Of all of the skill position players to pay up for today, he's my favorite. So by skill position, I mean, like we're taking Jackson Dart and Drake May out of the mix. We're just looking at the running backs, the wide receivers. I like getting to Wan'Dale Robinson here, and our data feels pretty similarly. 33% ownership. We got him in 40% of lineup. So of everybody in the flex spot, we are the second most overweight to him right now. The only one we're more overweight to is the Giants defense, and that's just because of how low owned they are. And if you look at our captain ownership, we've got the most positive leverage on Tyrone Tracy, the second most on Wan'Dale Robinson. Our data really likes Robinson. He's also pretty game script proof. If the Giants are ahead, it stands to reason that Robinson got targeted a bunch of times, probably had a pretty good game. If the Giants are behind, they're going to throw a shit ton of short routes to him where he's going to be able to rack up a lot of targets. So I really like getting to Robinson for today.
Yeah, I do too. And, when you talk about guys like Christian Gonzalez, you're going to see a lot of Christian Gonzalez outside. I highly doubt, you're traveling with a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson. And the pass defense for the Patriots is okay, but I mean, your real strength is Christian Gonzalez. Wan'Dale's lining up almost 70% of the time in the slot. So I actually like that too. My expectation is he should be able to get away from a guy like Gonzalez, which in my opinion, I would assume that's pretty helpful in a spot like this. So yeah, just another kind of feather in the cap there that I like quite a bit.
Yeah. And then as far as Darius Slayton goes, deep play threat, kind of a boom bust option. We've seen him make a handful of big plays this year. I feel better about the Giants in terms of a floor. I feel better about the Giants pass catchers than the Patriots pass catchers, even though I expect the Patriots passing game to be more effective and efficient overall. It's just more clear to me if the Giants have a big game passing. Like it would be so unlikely to me that Jackson Dart throws for 250 yards and Wan'Dale Robinson just has a shitty game. The Patriots, it could be so many different guys that get involved. For the Giants, it almost has to be Wan'Dale Robinson and then Darius Slayton to a lesser extent. It's just hard to imagine there's some third or fourth wide receiver for the Giants just going to be like 100 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's very difficult to do something like that. Pure Chaos said, weather's an issue. MetroCon, can you adjust something in the Sims when building a lineup for weather? Well, you can, but I would suggest not, because the weather is always going to be baked into the Vegas totals and then all of the derivatives and everything like that. So all of that is baked into the Sims, right? So weather's baked into the totals and everything else. And then the totals are all baked and everything, all of the odds are baked into the projections, which are, in the Sims. So I would recommend probably not doing something like that unless you think that this is the type of game that is going to be heavily affected by weather. I'm not sure what you guys are seeing that I'm not seeing, and I mentioned it earlier in the show. Where is weather a concern in this game at all? It's cold, but that's it. There's zero wind, and last I looked, there's a 1% chance of precipitation. These are two teams that play in cold weather. The Giants play in cold weather. The Patriots play in cold weather at home. This total has actually come up throughout the week, not down. So if weather is a concern to you, I would honestly recommend not adjusting the Sims, but recommend adjusting the way you approach a game like this.
The other issue too for single game slates is if it's a game that it's like 40-mile-per-hour winds or it's,
There's no
like
wind in this
torrential rain, then it's a little bit different because then you'd be like, it'll be more run game instead of the pass game. But if it's just something like this, where it's just like kind of cold, but isn't going to have a massive impact, it's the same effect on both of the teams. Not like a main slate where it's like, I'm just going to write this team off and play other teams. Like you're stuck with this game environment no matter what, and all the production is going to be relative to the other players. So let's say the offensive production is down 10% on both sides of the game. It ultimately isn't going to really matter that much for who you're selecting in your DFS contest because it's just uniform for every player in the game.
Yeah, and the total has come up. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just a game. Oh, Pure Chaos. Got you. He said, forgot the question mark. Well, that adds context for sure. Nah, the weather's fine. It's cold, but these guys will be okay. It's a primetime game on Monday night. They'll be okay. If we missed anything, you got Live Before Lock coming up later today. Greg, let's end on this just to see for anybody we missed who our highest exposed cheap players and low owned players are. So maybe spots where we have the most positive leverage, and then the spots that are just the cheapest that we're getting exposure to.
Yeah. So as far as cheap, I'll start with this because the answer is kind of nobody. If you look at the very, very cheap punt options, we have the most exposure we have to anybody sub 3K is 2.7% of Kyle Williams.
Wow. Okay.
So the cheap guys just not really showing up in the Sims all that much for today. Overall, for leverage options, we've got the Giants defense, Jackson Dart, Devin Singletary, Wan'Dale Robinson, Akeishawn Butte, Matt Collins. Those are all the players who are at least 5% overweight to the field to in the flex. The players who are underweight to the field to in the flex, Isaiah Hodgins, Younghoe Koo, Hunter Henry, Theo Johnson, Drake May. Then in the captain spot, we are underweight to the field to Drake May and Trevion Henderson, and we are overweight to Tyrone Tracy and Wan'Dale Robinson. That's like the spark notes of the entire show in 30 seconds.
Perfect. That gets us where we need to go. Yeah, we got Live Before Lock tonight. If you missed Josh's strategy show, surely you should be checking that out as well. And I am going to, Greg, go post some bets over on Tails. I assume you already have today. Yep. I'm about to do my Monday Night Football video. I think we've got some great spots. As always, you can literally just one-click tail everything. That's it. Look, DFS and Donuts Mitch, he's the biggest guy on the site. He always posts free content, and he's a profitable bettor. He is transparent about everything. So if I wanted to tail this Jackson Dart play right here, boom. If I want to tail this, boom. All of these right here, they pop right up, and I can just click whichever one I want, add it directly into my sportsbook. Splash bets, a little same game parlay action here. All of these, follow Greg, follow me, and everybody else. Experts on a heater. See, this is the cool thing. I know a lot of you guys know it already, but like you can go in and check the heater leaderboard, check the most profit for the last week, go into the long shots. What do we got on long shots? Ooh, okay. Who's trending? Who we want to get on board with? All of these guys right here. Oh, there we go. Like I'm up there. Hey, yeah, check it out, man. This is awesome. And if you love it, as always, we'll never ask you to open your wallet. Just open your hearts. For real though, leave a rating and a review in the App Store for Tails if you haven't yet. I use it every day. I've been tailing a bunch of people. I've been tailing Edge Zone. These Edge Zone guys are awesome, man. They got their own proprietary model. See, there we go, right there, baby. Yeah. These guys have been killing it. And they've been posting free bets on the platform as well. So they're brand new. They're killing it. Like they started off 3 days ago and have 359 followers already. They should. You should follow them and everybody else over there. Anything else before we go?
No, that's about it. If you guys haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then also want to let you guys know that today's show, it is sponsored by DraftKings Pick Six. So if you guys, as I change over the assets here we go. If you guys have not signed up at Pick Six, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and take advantage of the offer and also just the overall play over on DraftKings Pick Six. It's now supported in the Stokastic Portfolio EV Pick'em tools. We've got our Pick'em builder, so you guys can go and utilize that to build yourself some profitable Pick Six cards. But also, the best part is if you have not signed up over at DraftKings Pick Six yet, new customers get up to $50 in bonus picks when you sign up for the first time. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Just call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus, valid only where Pick Six operates. See dkng.co/Pick Six states. Void New York and Ontario and where prohibited. Eligibility restrictions do apply. One per new DraftKings customer. Your first $5 in Pick Six sets that can get you $50 in bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Terms and conditions can be found at picksix.draftkings.com/promos. This is sponsored by DraftKings.